My name's Ann Stanley. The company that I founded just over 5 years ago now is Annika Solutions, and we are primarily an AdWords agency, but we do have web and SEO, so we offer quite a lot of customers a whole range of different services. Now, today what I'm going to do is I'm going to give everybody a little bit of almost a workshop on how to use search. So I apologise to the other digital agencies, you probably all know this stuff. And I also apologise if you've already know any of this, but sometimes we think we know how Google works and then we go back in and realise there's about 20 new things have happened since we last looked at Google. So I'm going to try and give you some real tips. This is real practical stuff on how to try and help you get more business from your website using search. So I'm going to start off by just giving you a quick overview using, well, we all need lawyers at some point, solicitors at some point, so I've used these as an example. So I've typed in employment law in the news, and the first thing you see on the left-hand side is a whole load of display options. Now, a lot of you may not have even realised, but the default is the web, whereas in the past it used to be UK. So you are able to change your location on the left-hand side, and you're also able to choose different things like videos and shopping results. And you'll see as we go on later on that these results start to appear in the main results, and we call that universal search. Now, what we're all trying to do is get in the organic results or natural results or free results, lots of different names. And the process of search engine optimization is how you optimize and improve your website or build your website in order to try and get this holy grail of being found in that top 10 organic results. In this particular example, there's 273,000 results, and you'd be very pleased to know that probably only 40% of the people even scroll down past the fold or actually bother to scroll down at all. So the chances of actually getting found in the organic results are becoming more and more difficult. And in this case, we haven't even got any pay-per-click ads on the top left. And you'll see that nearly every single slide I show you from now on has got pay-per-click both in the left and on the right-hand side. Now, these universal results that I was talking to you about, and we mentioned video optimization this morning, it's other ways of getting additional information into the search results, and it's generally things like news, images, videos, and the shopping results, although I'm going to come back to the shopping results because guess what, Google's going to change the game with those and make them no longer free. So if any of you have got e-commerce websites, you're going to have to pay close attention to that, because you may find that at the moment you get a heck of a lot of free traffic, which probably in January will disappear. It's already happened in the States, so watch this space. The ads, in this case, there's only a few PPC ads are on the right-hand side, and as I said, normally there's about 11 on the page, typically 3 at the top and the rest on the right-hand side. And the growth in AdWords has still continued and has become more and more technically difficult as things have moved on. So I'm going to just sort of explain a few things about that. Many of you will have local businesses only trying to be found in, say, the Birmingham area. So in this particular case, I've looked for Leicester solicitors. And the reason I've shown you this is that you may actually find when you're logged in, and you may actually get London results, or you may not get, results from where you're located. And that's because your IP address. So it is possible to change the location on the left-hand side, or you can actually use the town in the key phrase. So what we see is in a lot of instances we actually notice that we've got organic results here. There's only 2 of them this time, and we've got the map results at the top. We've got the map there, and then what we call the local listings or the places listings in blue underneath. Now, these have moved around and changed a lot over the years, but in the last 6 months there's been a change in Google called the Venice update, which I refer to in a minute. So if you've got an office in either one town or a number of towns, it's very easy for you to create a local listing and really take advantage of the people that are searching in your city. And again, we've got the paid ads as well. This local bias, or the Venice update, means that if I actually only type solicitors in, what happens is it looks at where I'm located and assumes that I want Leicester solicitors. Now, okay, you'd expect that with solicitors, but you'll find it with all sorts of things. You'll find it with things like packaging supplies. So it's definitely worth typing in your key phrases and seeing if Google thinks it's a local service. Now, what that means is that you need to go and have a look at your local listing, which you may have had for many years, and you may have set it up. It's free, it's really easy to set up, and actually what you'll find is that the local listing's now been merged with Google+, and so it looks very different. The other thing is that if you've got a pay-per-click result, you can also have a blue flag on the map as well, and I'll show you that later. The biggest change this year has been searching for products, and anybody with an e-commerce website or anybody looking for products will have noticed in the past these shopping results on the left-hand side, and they do appear in different positions, but generally they're quite near the top. Now these are the ones that Google have provided free. It's had many names over the years: Google Base, Frugal, Shopping, and at the moment if you wanted to get shopping results in Google like this, you'd actually have to set up a Google Merchant Center account, and then you need a feed from your Google Merchant Center account from your website into your Google Merchant Center account. They announced in October, well, they announced a few months ago that from October this would no longer be free in America, and as usual we follow a few months behind, so we're expecting in the beginning of 2013 these results to disappear. Now I know companies, if you look at their analytics results, they're getting 20% or more of their traffic from these results. So if you have got an e-commerce site, you should be worried. Okay, why are they doing this? Well, the reason they're doing it is because they've introduced a whole load of features through AdWords, and they basically want you to pay for that advertising. So you can see in the top right up here, we've got what's called a product listing ad, and I'll explain those in a little bit more detail in a second. Okay, so having identified the fact that the search results have got various different elements, what we need to do is think about how we can get some quick wins and get our website or our business or our products or services listed in Google. So the first one I want to show you is the local listing. Now, as I said, this was previously called Places. It's had lots of names in the past, but you can see that if any of you have got Google Plus accounts, it's very familiar, and it's actually now the local listing at the bottom. Now, this is our local listing, and what happens is you've got our map, you've got our logo, you've got descriptions, and you've got reviews and testimonials. And once you get 5 reviews, it really does help. And if you haven't got 5 reviews, you need to try and get 5 reviews or testimonials, because you will actually get enhanced SEO listings or get a higher listing as a result of that. But generally, I recommend you go out and get this. As I say, it's free, and you should be editing. And if you've got a number of businesses around the country, each one needs to have their own local listing. You just go in and you just set up. You use usually the same Gmail account or the same Google account which you use for all your analytics and everything else, and you just set yourself up a local search. Believe in a local places listing. Believe it or not, more often than not, you have to verify your account using a postcard, which will come in through your door, and this is because of the amount of spam in the local listing. So Google actually wants to send it to a real address to prove that you're actually there. So it can take a little while to set this up. Bing has equivalents, and Bing's results are now feeding into Yahoo. So between the two of them, they're getting just under 10% of all the search results at the moment. And you can see that in here, I've done solicitors in Leicester. And if you want to go and set yourself up a Bing listing, you have to go to My 118 information. It does feed through to a lot of other places, but it's basically a way of getting a call centre to start hassling you to send you advertising. So you do actually have to pick up the phone and speak to somebody to get this listing live, but it is worth it because it does make because so few people have done it, it does make your listing more prominent. So I definitely would recommend it, even though you have to deal with the sales calls. I know that Luke is going to speak in more detail on pay-per-click in a minute, but what I thought I'd do is give you a little bit of an introduction. So for the people that have not used pay-per-click before, I mean, pay-per-click's been around in one form or another for approximately 12 years, and it's continued to grow, mainly due to the fact that Google has to carry on increasing their revenue from search, and yet their actual market share is not growing. So the only way they can do that is to effectively push the organic results down and make the pay-per-click results more prominent, so there's more chance that you're going to click on an ad. As a result of that, you can see in this particular example, I did a search for Bromsgrove estate agent. Apart from the places results, there's only paid results view before you actually scroll quite a long way down the page. And this is what's happening. A lot of people have done a lot of work on search engine optimization, and they're finding that they're getting a diminished return because their listings, although they might be number 1 or number 2, they're often right at the bottom of the page. Consequently, if you want to get traffic now, particularly if you've got a brand new site, in some cases pay-per-click's probably your only option. Okay, so how does it work then? Well, basically what you do is you set up an account, and this is an example for a Bromsgrove estate agent, and what happens is that when the user submits a search, the results are presented in what we call a bid auction or a real-time auction. And this is a dynamic auction which takes into consideration 2 main factors. How much the company is prepared to bid or pay for that cost per click, and the relevancy of that ad. Now, this relevancy is something that most people who run pay-per-click are completely unaware of. And it's very clever because it means that if you know about pay-per-click and you can take advantage of it, you can have massive savings. But on the other side, if you don't know anything about it, you could be paying 2 or 3 times more for every click. The way it works is Google basically for every single key phrase in your account gives you a quality score. And the quality score is a score out of 10. And if your quality score is 8 out of 10, you'll pay half as much as somebody with 4 out of 10. So if you can increase your relevancy, because basically that's what Google's trying to reward you for by increasing your quality score, then you can significantly lower your prices. And that's one of the major parts of setting up and optimizing a pay-per-click account is you want to create, if somebody types in Bromsgrove estate agent, they expect Bromsgrove estate agent to be in the ad. Whereas if I typed in Birmingham estate agent, I'd expect Birmingham estate agent to be in the ad. So there's a whole load of factors which influence quality score, and this is really the way that you can make significant savings. Believe it or not, it's actually a hidden field on the keyword tab. So if any of you have your own account and you're not aware of it, you definitely need to go and find out a little bit more about quality score. Once the user sees the ads, then what happens is that something in the ad will normally attract their attention, and they'll click on that ad. And then when they click on that ad, the company that set up the account will effectively pay a cost per click. And that cost per click, as I said, is related to their quality score, the quality score of the people around them, and how much their competitors are prepared to bid. Consequently, if you in a very competitive environment, like I think the most expensive I've looked at recently is no win, no fee for PI insurance, legal solicitors. We're talking about sort of £45 to £50 to be position 1, whereas at the bottom end of the market, some e-commerce websites, you might only have to pay 11 pence to be position 1. What Google's done is allow us to enhance our ads, and a lot of companies still haven't taken advantage of this, and we call these ad extensions. And what this allows us to do is it allows us to make our ads stand out. Now, one of the biggest factors in quality score is something called click-through rate, and basically it's like us voting that ad's the best ad. So if your ad's seen 100 times and nobody bothers to click on it, there's going to be a bit of a problem. Whereas if 5 people click on it or 10 people click on it, you're going to have a 5% or a 10% click-through rate. That means that people find your ad relevant and you'll get a higher quality score. So what you have to do is you have to make your ad more attractive, and you have to have calls for action, and you have to make sure you bid on key phrases that are relevant and are relevant to what you do. So you can see ad extensions are a great way of enhancing your ad. So the first one that I'm going to show you is something called site links. Now site links only appear if you're in the top 3. And interestingly, as a strategy for the last 8 years, I've been telling people that they don't have to be position 1, 2 or 3, because quite often there's a bidding war going on to be position 1, 2 and 3, and if they go down a little bit lower or they go on the top right, they might get their cost per click significantly lower. And then Google comes along and offers these wonderful site links, which mean lots of people click on your ads, but they only do that for position 1, 2 or 3. So I think Google's sussed us really, and generally you get some amazing results and you can put some great offers in. So in this case you can see 20% off of selected luggage, travel accessories, etc. The next one I'm going to show you is an old format of what we call product extensions. Now, product extensions is a little bit like linking with those Google shopping results, except for they show in this site link format where you've got the price and the name or the title of the product, and you click on it and you actually go through to the product page. Now, the way that you do this is that you link your AdWords account and your Merchant Center account together, and then at the campaign level you set up these product extensions, and they basically they're automatically added, and generally again they only come in on the top 3. We've already mentioned the map, and if this was a term such as, you know, the estate agent, you might find a blue flag on here, because sometimes you'll find that there's a name and an address underneath an ad, and that's what we call a location extension. The last one I want to show you is the relatively new product listing ads. Now again, this is really Google's replacement for Google shopping results, and they're relatively easy to set up as long as you've got your feed, and we've had some brilliant results for these, and you'll notice that nearly every single product out there, Amazon and eBay, are bidding on them. So I think that's where a lot of Google's income's coming from, is actually Amazon and eBay. Another thing you need to be aware of is that if you have your mobile phone or your smartphone and you do a search, which probably 20 to 30% of people do now, and it's expected to go over 50%, not this Christmas but the Christmas after, 2014. When you do a search, there's not as many ads, there's only 5 on the front page of Google, but you'll notice that you've actually got a telephone number here, and this is what we call a call extension, and what happens is you click on that telephone number and then it actually rings the company, and so you only pay the cost of a click. And now this is great because it means that although it's not very high percentages will actually do this, it's a very, very cost-effective way of getting a conversion. Because one of the things that people forget when they're doing pay-per-click, it's not all about trying to get traffic to your site, it's actually about trying to get the conversions and getting people to actually buy or fill in the form. One of the great ways of improving your conversion rates, I haven't talked about conversion rates, and I'm sure Luke will in a minute, but generally for most businesses, approximately 1% of your people that come to your site will bother to fill in a form or bother to buy off you. So any way that you can improve your conversion rate is going to be is going to basically mean you're going to get a better return on your investment. And remarketing, which we've kindly called stalking, is one of the most effective ways of improving sales from your AdWords campaign. The way it works is that if you go to a website, I went to the Seaton site, and when I went to the Seaton site, I was just doing a search. I was actually looking for them. I didn't actually click on an ad or anything. I just went to their website because I was looking for B2B product e-commerce websites. Anyway, when I went to that site, I got a cookie put onto my machine which tagged me, and then when I went to every menu, which is one of Google's AdSense network, so it's an independent website that makes money from advertising from Google, I was then shown a Seaton ad. Now the reason we call it stalking is because if the agency or the company do it badly, you can literally get stalked around the web. I've been stalked by Huddle for about 6 months, and everywhere I went there was a Huddle advert. Now the reason I'm showing you this is because the results have been brilliant, and we've got some very, very good results from remarketing. When we do PPC, I'm sure Luke will go into more detail on this, but it's really important to focus on two things really. The first one is quality score, and the second is cost per acquisition. And my take-home message is for anybody that's doing any form of digital marketing is that you need to improve your relevance, and in Google this is quality score, and you need to know what your cost per acquisition is in order that you can make sure you get a very good return on your investment. So the sorts of things that we do is we make sure that when we set up an account, it's very granular. And what that means is that we'll look for thousands of key phrases. Most AdWords accounts that we audit, because we do free audits for lots and lots of people, either because they're managing it in-house or they're fed up with their existing agency. You know, they might find that there's a couple of hundred key phrases where actually you can go and see the phrases that people actually typed in, and you'll find that there's 10 or 100 times more key phrases than they're actually bidding on. So we go and find what they are, and then we put them into what's called ad groups or discrete ad groups. And that means that for every key phrase there's a matching ad and then the corresponding landing page. Quality score is very much affected by this relevancy. So if you can make that really relevant, then you'll get a good quality score. And we're trying to get 7 and above. And then once your account's set up and it's actually running, click-through rate is very important. So believe it or not, the best way of improving your return on your investment is to actually pause the rubbish. So my analogy, it's like going fishing. You fish with thousands of key phrases, and then you get it all into this, onto the deck of your boat, and then you throw half of it away, because most of it's not going to actually isn't doing very well. So what we try and do is we try and maximise the click-through rate, and if it's got a click-through rate of less 1%, we get rid of it. It's not good enough. The other thing you want to consider is how much you actually bid on a key phrase, and lots of people are really hang up with being in positions 1, 2 or 3. Now this could be a political decision from your MD who says, oh, we've got to be number 1, but it's often quite a lot of agencies will actually get a percentage of spend, which I fundamentally disagree with, and they'll encourage you to spend more money than you really need to. So you might find it's £1 to be position 1, but actually position 4 is only 25 pence. Why is that important? Well, if you convert 1 in 100, 1%, if you're number 1, that's costing you £100 a lead, whereas if you're number 4 and it's 25 pence, it's costing you £25 a lead. So you could be paying over the odds just to be position 1, and you'll just spend your budget much quicker. So it's all about getting the best return on your investment. And you've normally got a few people being really silly, so you get these ridiculous bidding wars where actually, the cost per click is not sustainable. It all boils down to cost per acquisition. How much can you afford to spend to acquire a sale? And it doesn't matter what marketing you use. You really need to understand that aspect of your running your business. The last thing is that conversions are great, but they don't necessarily reflect what money you make. And one of the nice things about analytics is it's starting to bring all its data back into AdWords, or you have to invest in technology. We use a platform called Acquisio. And what that means is for e-commerce websites, we can actually take a campaign and we can actually see how much money each key phrase actually generated. So it's not about how many conversions you've got, but how much money you actually made. Okay, so long-term investment then, search engine optimization. So I'm going to do a quick little thing on SEO. So you've got my little spider bopping up and down here. The first thing you need to do is you need to go home and check whether your website is actually indexed. So the best way of doing this is to use what we call a site operator, an operator. And what I've done there, you probably can't see, it's site:/www.annika-solutions. Now this will immediately tell me how many pages on your website have actually been indexed. And so you can actually go in and you can see also your titles and descriptions. And in this case, it's 592. It's actually gone up a little bit since I did this slide because we blog very regularly, and by having an integrated blog on our site, we're actually growing our website and the importance of our website all the time. And one of the things that we're trying to do, this consistency issue applies to PPC as well as SEO, is that if somebody types in a key phrase, you expect that key phrase to be in the title tag, which is the top line, which is in purple. You expect it to be in the URL, and then you expect it to be in the content and actually on the page as well, in the description tag. So it's all about getting that continuity. And to be honest, we cheat. We use our PPC data to actually find out what key phrases convert and then use that for SEO. Traditionally, SEOs done in a slightly different way. What we tend to do is we use the Google keyword tool and we try and find out what key phrases have actually got lots of search demand. So the keyword tool is great, particularly if you're logged in. If you're logged in, you get a lot more data, and it will normally suggest over 800 key phrases relating to your phrase. So definitely set yourself up a little AdWords account just to use the keyword tool. Now, one of the things you need to be aware, and they've hidden it under this help button, let me see if I can get my mouse over here, is you type 3 or 4, this is an example of a case study for a social, a sort of a singles club, social club in Yorkshire. So what to do in Yorkshire, Yorkshire things to do, social clubs Yorkshire. Type in 4 or 5 phrases in there. And then down here, you want to change that to exact match. Now, exact match will tell you exactly how many, it will tell you the amount of searches when they exactly typed in. So it will ignore misspellings, it will ignore hyphens, it will ignore plurals. So you have to literally find all those key phrases. And then that will give you the data of the number of searches made for that key phrase. What we then do is we download that information, and then what we do is we try and find key phrases that have got good searches but low levels of competition. So a good way of determining levels of competition is to use another one of these operators, and the one I'm using here is called Untitled. Now, what to do in Yorkshire means Untitled : what to do in Yorkshire. These slides are going to be available on the blog, but do write some notes as you go along, but you will be able to pick them up later. So can you see how in each of these title tags what to do in Yorkshire is included? And actually there's only 513 sites. Now what that means is these websites have proactively optimised their web page for this phrase, what to do in Yorkshire. So this gives me a level of competition, whereas if I put something like social clubs in Yorkshire or things to do in Yorkshire, I'm going to get a different result, okay? So what we find in practice is that if you can generate yourself a lovely spreadsheet where you've got the key phrase that you want to target and the search volume and the competition, and this ratio gives you an idea of the best ones to go for. Now this is just summary, because behind this is a load of research. We usually do this on a big spreadsheet. So you can see that in this case the topic is meeting people. The URL of the new page is going to be Yorkshire meeting people, and we're going to optimise for meet people in Yorkshire, Yorkshire meeting people, and these were the core key phrases we're trying to be found for. And you can see that although this one had 1,300 searches in the previous month and this one had 1,000, look at the difference in the competition. So meeting people would be a lot easier to optimise for than meet people because of the level of competition. We then throw into the mix any PPC data, because the trouble with, when we do PPC, we often find we get rid of lots of key phrases that drive traffic but don't drive conversions. So if we already tested them with, oh, what busy diary I've got. If we've already tested them with PPC, that allows us to say, well, actually, I know that I'm going to get some good conversions on this phrase, but this one's not really converted very well. So I add that into the mix. From this, I get a topic plan, and then I map it to the website. So this is the practical application of SEO. Let's go and find out what the key phrases are. Let's find out what the search volumes are. Let's find out what the competition is. Let's produce a plan, and let's go and optimize the website. And this is the example for this particular company. So meet people in Yorkshire, Spice Yorkshire makes meeting people fun. Sorry about the clunky English. They have a really terrible CMS system, and unfortunately the title and the URLs all had to be the same, and the title tag had to be the same. But there wasn't actually any content on the site where we could put this content, so we created a load of links at the bottom in the footer. We probably wouldn't recommend that as much now because of changes that was alluded to this morning, which is Panda and Penguin, which I'll come back to. But this is an optimised page which was specifically targeted for these key phrases, and if you go in you can see the repetition of how we talk about those key phrases. So this is the traditional way of doing search engine optimization. Here are all the factors that we consider when we're optimizing the page, and a lot of it's all about getting good quality content on your site. So when one of the presenters this morning was talking about this, I think it was Simon, he was saying about how it's not so much about trying to manipulate content, it's about actually getting good user content on the site. So this is the step-by-step, which I've already highlighted, but basically we do the key phrase research, we then prioritise those key phrases, we produce a plan, and then we write the content for either the existing pages or new pages. We upload the content through your CMS and add links if you haven't already got them. And then what we really need to be doing is once you've got that content on your site, you pretty much leave it as it is, and then you focus on creating new content through an integrated blog. Share that content through social networking, and then review your results through webmaster tools and analytics. Okay. Off-page marketing is probably, search engine optimization is probably the most difficult, and it's the bit that's changed the most, and that's why things like social indicators are so important. So if any of you have done SEO, you know link building is important, but let's talk about how we get some links. And probably the most important way of getting links at the moment is guest posts, because a lot of the other types of content on other people's sites, like article syndication sites, were all very badly hit by the Panda update. So you really do have to have marketing has just gone back to almost traditional marketing of developing your brand and developing good content which can be then used on yours and other people's sites. Blogging is the best tool for doing this, and what I've done here is I showed you our integrated blog, which is also where you can download the presentation. And one of the great advantages of this is that you can then put your social plugins, and you can then tweet out and Google Plus and like and share the article. And so what you're doing is you're focusing your content on your blog, but then you're using this to syndicate it out. And if you're very busy like we are, or you've got clients that haven't got a huge amount of money, doing a blog once a week and using this and integrating all your social syndication is very, very effective. There's not really too much gone on about social today. Yeah, it's the big hype, it's the big, with the exception of Anne-Marie's excellent presentation on LinkedIn. But what I really want to say is social has a huge SEO benefit. And that's because it allows Google, particularly since Panda, to have an indication of what people actually think about your page. So they want to know about the Google, what individuals think about your website. So Google Plus, Facebook shares and social bookmarking have made a massive inroad again, and very popular. We did LinkedIn earlier, so I won't dwell on that, but you've got a personal and company profile. But the one I do want to, mention and go into is Google Plus. And the reason the Google Plus is so important, and if you haven't got a Google Plus profile for yourself or your company, please go and do that when you get back, is because guess what? Google Plus is Google's way of competing or trying to compete with Facebook, and it's now included as part of the algorithm to determine what your SEO position is going to be. So it's got a very important role to play. There's also some lovely tools like Google Hangout that you can look at. Okay, so just a couple of slides then, bringing us up to date with what's new in Google. And one of the things I wanted, well, this is probably what's new in Google was in brackets, because one of the things I do want to talk to you about is call tracking technology. Now, call tracking technology is ideal for people that are in business to business or generate leads. And a lot of companies very few people actually bother to fill in a form. Most people pick up the phone. So what happens with call tracking technology, and if you go onto our site, you'll see that our telephone number changes, is that you get a dynamic number, and as somebody arrives on the site, they get a unique number. If they then phone that number, the tracking system will then know exactly where they come from. Did they come from a Facebook ad? Did they come in from Google? What key phrase did they type in? And you can actually record the call, and if you miss the call, you get call alerts. There's lots of other great features which you should take advantage on. And it goes through to your normal number, so you don't have to change your own system. It just sits above it. What happens then is that it then creates a virtual page in analytics. And if any of you aren't familiar with analytics, analytics has got this amazing functionality or this amazing ability to monitor lots of things, and one of them is called goals. So we can set up a goal, and goals are typically used at the end of a process, such as a thank you page at the end of an e-commerce process, such as buying or filling in a form. But you can also set up a goal based on this virtual page. That's brilliant. I can go into analytics and I can see how many telephone calls I've had. So what? The great thing is that you can then import those goals back into AdWords, and you can see the actual key phrase and the actual ad that generated that call. So even though you might only have 1% of forms filled in, you might find you've got 5 or 10% of telephone calls, and they could be completely different key phrases. So it allows you to optimize on telephone calls. And the combination of this technology and being able to optimize on revenue has really dramatically improved the return on investment on pay-per-click in the last year. Google Search Plus Your World, this is a US phenomenon which they've tested in UK, but it hasn't been completely brought over yet. And what you see is when you log in to google.com and you're logged into Google, you'll see this little bar at the top. And what happens when I did a search, you can see there's a couple of ones that have been highlighted with a little person, and this is personalization of my results. If you don't realize that what you get completely different results when you're logged in, you should, because you might think you're doing really well in the search engines, and actually if you're not logged in you'll get completely different results. But this is going one stage further, and it's bringing in your results. So it's important to connect a lot of people and get people in your Google Plus circles, because as this comes forward, your connections will influence the results you actually see, or your customers will see in the search results. We mentioned panda. Tried to find a nice cute picture of a panda. This was about 18 months ago now, and it's all to do with good quality content and penalising duplicate content. And if you go onto the blog, particularly if you've got e-commerce website, you'll see a lot of information about how to get over issues with panda. You may have already been penalised, and it's all about making really good quality content, no duplicate content. And for an e-commerce site, for example, you might have to put hundreds or thousands of new pages of content on there to actually make your site better quality. It was then followed by Penguin, called it P-Day. So if you suddenly saw a massive drop in traffic on the 24th of April, you may well have been penalised by Penguin. And I know actually companies that have nearly gone out of business as a result of this. And this is to do with unnatural links. You will have to go into your webmaster tools to see if you've been affected, but it's all about trying to clean up your act. And just recently Google has actually added a new, it's called a disavow feature. So if you have had some dubious links, or an agency's bought links in the past, then you can actually say, oh no, I don't know anything about these links, they're nothing to do with me, I don't want to be associated with them. But you do need to clean your act up, and a lot of the techniques that we've been using for the last 10 years are, you just can't use anymore. Okay, so my final slide. Nobody's talked about device responsive design, but we've all talked about mobile. So Google's come off the fence and said they want one universal website that works across all devices. They've been testing having only 7 paid organic results on page 1 in Google, which is quite scary. It's bad enough trying to get in the top 10, let alone getting in the top 7. And Google Plus has believed it's going to be the new Google. So that's what Google will probably look like. And it's going to be an integration of all their platforms. They're already started to integrate lots of other stuff. More emphasis on content and quality. So as marketeers, this is great for you guys, because you've all got really good copywriting skills, and your knowledge base within your company can really be taken advantage of. Social is going to become more and more important in search, and will become the new spam. Basically, just expect more change, more innovation, and more surprises. Thank you.
No, it's all right. You're doing very well indeed. Well done. Thank you very much indeed. Anybody have any questions for Anne? There's a huge amount of information in there, I know, but